Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. It's 20 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock, and it's time to shine a spotlight on remembering the 1990 attempted coup.
On Friday, July 27th, at around 5 to 6 p.m., the history of Trinidad and Tobago was forever changed as the 1990 attempted coup would have begun. The coup lasted for several days, taking us to the 1st of August, after which there was much needed cleanup, if you will, which is where we will begin our conversation this morning on the Now Morning Show. Now, this particular instance not only echoes through the historic data of Trinidad and Tobago, but through the halls of our halls right here at TTT. This morning, Lennox Smith, veteran community activist, along with Dada Gabriel, businessman and activist, joins us to give their accounts of what would have happened in the aftermath. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the Now.
Good morning to you as well, and it's always a pleasure to be among good, rare company.
While I appreciate the sentiments, I wish that we were meeting under better circumstances, because this is always a difficult conversation.
Yes, it's very, very, very difficult.
I do not vividly recollect the happenings, as I am perhaps one of the younger persons who would have been around.
Yes.
And there is an entire generation or two that has no understanding altogether. If we were to summarize what the 1990 coup was like, Mr. Lennox, could you begin by giving us a little bit of a summary?
Oh, yes. It was a harrowing, a very devastating, unprecedented, unexpected experience. I remember I lived on Passage Street, and that would be what we call Laventille on the flat.
Mm-hmm.
But when the news broke, and I was teaching at the time, so it was unbelievable. It was, one would have found themselves in a state of disbelief and at the same time in panic. I mean, that was the kind of atmosphere and the kind of personal emotions that would have been running around generally in the community. Of course, I took my car, and because we have the lookout just on the Lady Young Road there, and that will have a bird's eye view of Port of Spain.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to make true, as far as we can, the rumors that were being spread. And when I got up there, eventually I saw, of course, Port of Spain almost in envelope in smoke, and therefore that indicated that in fact the police headquarters was in fact on fire. Well, of course, from that distance, you cannot tell what is happening on the streets per se, right, microscopically, but at the same time, because of the information that was flowing, because in Trinidad and Tobago, I can tell you bad news run pretty quickly, mm-hmm, even though in some instances it may not be accurate. But in this case, I mean, it was both quick and accurate, and that was the general feeling. There were others who joined us on the lookout, observing what is happening, and quickly, of course, we had to get back to our respective homes to, of course, prepare for what may or may not come, right, as a consequence. Stocking up the eventual looting and so on that would have impacted on the psyche, as well as that short period, 6 days, yes, but people were deprived of going to the grocery, for example, and therefore the looters in the Laventille context, I can tell you that, did yeoman service, even though, of course, it was a tragic situation because people simply ran out of food and so on. And these people, they went and they broke open whatever warehouse stocked with food, and they would, of course, come and either sell or give, as the case may be. So it was that kind of atmosphere, maybe very harrowing, to use one term.
Mr. Gabriel, you were even closer to the site of things. You explained that you were streets away from the happenings. What was the atmosphere like from your perspective?
It wasn't really a fair starting because our guys was playing basketball, And somebody come around and say, the red house burning down. We say, well, red house go burn down. So all of us just chop the ball, we go on running down Duke Street, onto Fecker Street. With the fire, we seen the red house burning. Then the police start to run us. And then things started to get, take everybody away from running from pillow to post. The red house is burning, they ain't got shot fire, and all kind of thing. Shot something pelting. So then, about after semi-night time, all of you lining on George Street side, the looting started, as Mr. Lennox said. Like, they started loot Superstar, American Stores, Standards, Pink Sing, Najib, kept burned down. So it was an exciting moment. Everybody thinks. So we get a chance to loot Saturday morning. We loot. We rich kids. So we take a part of looting, but we cannot go during the night time, we went in the daytime. And since then, we get to see how serious it is because now we have no current for over the past 3 weeks, no current. So we had this total darkness. Only the daytime we are light, in night time it's total darkness. The army, police, brutalizing people on the streets, shots pelting from all about the place because we don't want really little kids. And then after about the 4th week, 5th week, when we get back current, Mr. Lennox came to us and asked us to help him clean out the red house. And when we went in there, we see so much, I think, as youth, we never see so much. His blood shed, his glass pane break. So that's one thing to go through your mind. Then you have to go back to school and tell your friends what went on, but you're there. And so we started clean up, led by Mr. Lennox. While we were looking for pay, we didn't get no pay. He said that activists. And from there we joined and come together to clean up the mess from George Street straight down to Fergus Street and everything.
Now that entire process, I cannot begin to imagine how long and how much it took out of you. But I do want to get a sense of what would have caused you to reach to that point in the first place. Everybody would have been panicked. Everybody would have been going through this as a nation to some degree or the other, whether you're in Port of Spain or not. So what caused the Lennox Smith to decide we need to clean up, we need to move forward?
That's a fabulous question. At the time, I was the coordinator and founder of the MLIO Trade School. So we had over 200-300 young people who would have been suspended from school as a consequence of the activity. But at the same time, we were determined to make some kind of input because when we saw the carnage, and carnage here not necessarily people, but certainly the damage to property and businesses from Morvant Junction straight down to the flyover in Port of Spain. At that time, Grell was there, Angus Stewart, and you name it, a number of big names at the time, and small names as well. So we had this coup of students who came to me and said, Mr. Smith, could we assist? We have a welding plant, we have the carpentry department and so on. And it was fortuitous in 2 ways. One, that we were there and that the young people were prepared to engage. And at the same time, we were in close proximity, we were in the middle of things because our facility was on the Fernandez compound itself. Which was, of course, the subject of looting and so on. And therefore, we decided there to, of course, form a team from within the school. And we went and we sealed up and we bought locks and so on and assisted those businessmen who would have, of course, not able to access their businesses. But we saw it as our responsibility to protect those assets because let's face it, in Laventille and similar communities, what you have, of course, is that notion that everybody is a scamp, everybody is a thief, everybody is a opportunist in that regard, and I thought it was a good lesson for the young people to be humane, one, and to be patriotic, two. And as a consequence of that, we started and we shut and we welded and we nailed all the businesses right down to, as I said, from Morvant Junction to the flyover in Port-of-Spain. It was a tremendous exercise, I believe, in patriotism, in goodwill, in seeking your fellow man interests, even though, of course, in some instances, they would say, well, leave them businessmen, they have money already, etc., etc. But it was not that lesson on this occasion that we wanted to project to these young people.
A beautiful lesson, as you rightly put, of patriotism and humane behaviors in what would have been a very tragic and catastrophic time.
That's right.
Now, my understanding is that the cleanup and restoration phase, or rather process, was divided into phases. What you've described would have been the initial phase of things, I imagine, immediately following the arrest.
Yes.
And essentially when things regain some sort of normalcy.
Yes, abated, yes.
Now, post the movement that you would have created, other things needed to be done. There would have been needing to repair buildings and change things. There needed to be even relocation of some things as a result of there not being the space to use there. Were you involved in that second or third phase of the process as well?
Well, I want to say it appears that except the initial phase that caused the tragedy in the first place, certainly I would have been involved in every phase. In fact, it was Mr. Nizam Mohammed, who was the Speaker of the House at the time, and Mr. Manuel Carter, who was the President of the Senate at the time. We approached them, having regard to all this resource and having regard to the young people enthusiasm and of course, everybody was traumatized as to the assault on our democracy. And we thought that it would have been important, and I did, of course, testify at the subsequent Commission of Inquiry in that regard, to give a deeper sense of what we would have lost and to make the young people understand. Because remember, a large portion of those insurrectionists were from Laventille itself. And therefore, we wanted to prove to the whole world that all of Laventille is not what would have been projected negatively to the regional and international community. And as a consequence, I wrote to both parties, both officials, and they agreed that we should form a team of a national flavor, so it's all kinds of persons, to, of course, enter the chamber and to, of course, to do the cleaning process. Fundamentally, at first, as a symbol, but I mean, it was more than a symbol for me, because I could smell the stench of stale urine right now in glass, and so on. People had to urinate in glass. I saw where the then Prime Minister was shot, and you see the blood stain in the carpet and the bullet penetration of the carpet into the wooden floor below it, and all of that. And even to today, I am. And it is almost as if, well, it is surreal, that that such a thing could happen in Trinidad and Tobago. But what was very important to us is the restoration of our democracy and the symbolization that Laventille would have been part and parcel of that process, and the young people and engage, even though they were young people who were misguided by persons who ought to have known better.
Much like the accounts from Mr. Gabriel himself, I imagine similarly seeing those things were jarring and definitely left an impact. But tell me, to close, what was the impact on you in being part of that restoration? I understand it was
a learning time in my life when I get to see danger, what danger means, because you just watch it on TV, but you not just see it live, because our district is a Muslim district. And half of them who was in the Red House, went to the Red House, was senior to us, and they used to be on George Street, like normal guys, going through on Friday. So to see this blare up, the police always attacking us first, Nelson and George Street, because we the Muslims, up to this day, based still.
So to be part of the solution then, what does that feel like?
Oh my gosh, excited. It make me an amazing businessman right now, our business on George Street, Charlotte Street. Make me take trips to do entrepreneur in India, make me do a lot of things, not to be in that side.
And in that case, as much as it is an harrowing experience that will forever be etched in our minds,
yes,
you two remain more positive ends of that experience, and we appreciate you this morning for joining us to share that experience.
If I could say just one last thing, and it comes from the report of the Commission of Inquiry. In fact, it was recommended that several persons, including, of course, your media, what I consider to be icons, June Spimadera and, of course, Makumi and all of them, well, alongside them, the Commission of Inquiry has recommended that a special minted award be given to these active participants in restoring our democracy in that way. And of course, MLIO was also included in that list. I'm very, very proud, and of course, I feel elated when the current Prime Minister has said that, of course, they will be looking at the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry because it's long overdue. So I thought I should just include that in this discussion.
Rightfully so. And again, that will be Mr. Jones P. Madera, Mr. Dennis McCormy,
yes,
and a few other institutions, all recognized with a Medal of Honor for their part in, as you put it, restoring the democracy of Trinidad and Tobago following the 1990 attempted coup. Gentlemen, again, thank you very much for joining us to give us those accounts, to continue to reiterate the importance and significance of this instance in our history, and to rewrite it for better.
Thank you very much.
We truly appreciate you this morning, and we encourage our viewers to continue to read the stories, listen to the versions, the hidden tapes that have been discovered, and more, as this is part of our history here in Trinbago. We'll be back with more after these messages.
In funds with simply